Hello, fellow gamers. Live here, your current and future source of all new world information that you might need when you're starting out the game. So, what I thought is I'm going to make my first video here talking about New World and some of the how you can make money in the beginning of New World. So, I'm going to sit here, talk about a few things on how you can make money in the upcoming September 28th launch. So, most of you are probably wondering, uh, when you're starting out New World, if you played or if you're a previous player, if you have played or before, if you haven't, I've played both closed betas and the open beta that was a couple weeks ago, and got lots of value information of how to start in this game. It feels like questing is going to be our primary source of gold when we're starting out. So doing your main quest stories, doing all the side quest stories is how most people are going to be getting the gold in the beginning, trying to gather gold for a company. That's what most people are going to try to do. They're going to get their friends or get whatever, gather up a bunch of people and try to buy a region in New World. On my server specifically, people did this in about 14 hours, which is a lot slower than most of the highly populated streamer servers did, but was pretty quick for our medium population server. So how my guild went and bought a region was they went ahead and did main quests and side quests for about 14 hours. There was a couple of us that were doing that, gathered up about 80,000 gold. And then after we got that 80,000 gold, we pretty much asked for donations to get that last 20,000 so that we could be the first faction to buy it. So everyone gets the benefit of fast travel for, pretty much nothing and no work or no maintenance, right? So that was the first 14 hours of the game. Now, from my experience in the closed beta, not the 3-day beta, but almost at the 13-day, almost 2-week beta, that was broken down to about 13 days, and I made tons and tons of gold in that beta just for fun. We bought a region, and we got tons of progress, tons of gold, and everything. We actually bought a region near the middle of the beta, probably about day 3, day 4, with just 12 people. So it's pretty crazy, and most of the gold that came from those 12 people were actually about like 4 or 5 people. So there is a big opportunity here. Even if you are a small faction, go ahead and save up all this money, build a community, and you could be able to buy a region too in your server, unless you're in one of those high populated servers. But if you're in a medium population server, there is a chance that if you do what I tell you here, that you'll be able to save up enough gold and buy a region. Though it probably won't be the cream of the crop. It'll be your region. Most people are going to be spending their gold on upgrading whatever region they buy or contesting other regions in order to take them over. So you'll have a good side start if you're trying to capture one of those side points that are in the higher level brackets. So without further ado, day 1. So day 1 is going to be pretty simple. You first jump into New World, your first hour in, questing. Your main stories, your side quest stories. This is what's going to be your primary goal. You'll probably average about, I want to say about 7 to 10k gold a day, unless you're grinding really, really hard. And by that, I mean you're probably going to get like 1,000 gold an hour if you were to average it all out over, let's say, 20 hours or so. It's going to take a long time, but with enough people, I mean, it's 100k to buy a region, and most of the stuff you don't really, most of the stuff that you need is going to be there. So I would say about 100 gold an hour just by questing, average over the 20 hours. So in the beginning, you might get a couple hundred, and in the future, you'll start averaging up from there. So day 1, you could also do quality of life tools. That's where I would focus most of my time if I was just focusing on gold. This is going to be bags and tools. So quality of life tools, such as your skinning knives, your pickaxes, your hatchets, or not your hatchets, your logging axe, and your sickle, are going to be your primary source of income. If you're looking for that long-term capture everybody's gold, it's going to be amazing. So I'll give you guys just a brief overview. I don't have any footage of actual game yet. I didn't record during the closed beta before I decided to make this YouTube channel, so you're going to get some screenshots of databases and whatnot. I would recommend sticking away from the sickles and the hatchets, and I would focus on the skinning knives and the pickaxe. The reason is because most people that pick up a resource is going to be mining. Mining is going to be very popular. There's going to be tons of iron, tons of steel come the game, just because it's one of the most popular resource gathering professions out there. Everyone's going to be mining when they come across a node. On top of that, skinning. Everyone's going to want to be skinning everything they kill. And so they're going to upgrade their knife right away. You can say the same thing about harvesting or hatcheting, but nobody's walking around cutting every tree they see, and most of the time people ignore the plants anyway. That's why there's that one River Crest quest, the main quest story, and people are selling the River Quest for 150 gold on the auction house before people are getting 30 harvesting because nobody wants to take time to do it. Anyway, so day one is going to be questing. Actually, if you want to summarize this whole video, questing is going to be your main source of gold for this whole game if you're looking for stable income. So questing until you can buy a faction is probably going to be one of your fastest, if not the fastest way to get gold, unless you're willing to grind some skills out and sacrifice your leveling. So day one is going to be all about questing. We could add in some of the iron tools, so iron mining pickaxe and the iron skinning knife. You could probably get away with selling these on the first day for 200 gold, maybe somewhere between 100 and 200 gold. That's why it might not be worth your time unless you are pushing towards building higher resource tools in the later days of the game launch. So by day 5 or maybe even day 3, if you're looking to build steel or star metal tools, you're going to be in a safe bet if you're going to do these iron tools now. So let's move on to day 2, 3, and let's say 4. So day 2, 3, and 4, I would upgrade to just doing steel. So you're pretty much doing the same thing as the iron. It's really easy. You just make steel tools the same way you make the iron tools. And what you want to make, again, is the steel mining pickaxe and the steel skinning knife. These are going to be your two primary sources of income. If you want a recommendation for price, I would say that you're going to be spending your ass off making these steel tools into green tools. The green highlighted ones here, I think, are uncommon. Yeah. So you want to make sure they're uncommon. The way you do that is you have to add, I think it's like 15 Azoth to each one of these craftings. So you're going to need some crafting. You're going to need some Azoth so you can get the rare crafting perk or whatever you call it, and go ahead and use the Azoth to upgrade these to the green. When I first started selling this on day 2, I was selling these for around 600, like 400 to 600, depending on what perks were on there. These ones I was selling for 400 to 600, and the steel mining pickaxe I was selling for around 800. So it wasn't really worth doing the steel mining pickaxe. They weren't selling very quickly. Most people didn't want to spend money on the pickaxe, but funny enough, we're spending money on the thing that was less resource intensive, which was the steel skinning knife. If you don't know, the steel skinning knife requires about 1/3 of the materials as a steel mining pickaxe. So keep that in mind when you're building things. And yes, you're going to need to make it uncommon. If you don't make it uncommon, you pretty much cut the price in half. Is what you're going to sell it for. So if you're selling these for 600 on the second day, and you make the gray ones, you're probably going to be selling them for like 200 to 300 because nobody's going to want them. On day 3, 4, and 5, like we mentioned, just keep making these steel skinny knives. Put about 5 in the auction house around the market. Maybe some in Everfall, some in Windward. Even in First Light, I bet you these will sell a lot. They will sell a lot. So the reason steel is going to be selling so much is because the next tier of quality of life tools is star metal, and you can't actually wear star metal until you're level 40. Now, if you're a hardcore grinder, you'll get level 40 in 4 or 5 days. But if you're a casual, which most of the people that are going to buy this stuff on the auction house or market trading post are going to be casuals, because if you're hardcore, you're just going to have your friend make it because you have a clan or whatever. So people aren't going to be buying this stuff very, very frequently. I mean, they're probably going to start buying it on day 8 or day 9, almost a week later. You could put this on the auction house before. I recommend selling these on the earlier days. The Star Metal skinning knife for, I think I was selling them for 1,500 on the earlier days. And even the later days, all the way up to about day 13, I was selling these Star Metal skinny knives for 13 to 1,500 a pop, and they're super easy to make. Um, they require almost no materials. Again, you need to use the maximum Azoth. I think for this one, it was actually 30 or 45 Azoth per crafting, so it does add up pretty quick. If you're running out of Azoth because you are following this guide and making tools or whatnot, running corruptions gives you tons of Azoth and gives you like 10 per clear. So, go ahead and take that with a grain of salt and, start selling these on the trading post. The next one is the Star Metal Mining Pickaxe. This one's obviously going to be selling for a lot more. It does require about 3 times the resources, but you can't just keep selling Star Metal skinning knives. People are going to start noticing that and start outbidding you. So eventually you're going to need to start making some other tools. I recommend Star Metal Mining Pickaxe. These I was selling in the auction house for about 3,000 to 4,000 each, all the way up to the end of day 13, and these were selling great. Honestly, all the Star Metal tools are going to be selling like hotcakes. The next thing, which is notable but I don't recommend, is bags. So bags are going to be in high demand in the beginning of the release and all the way up to the end. So there's tons of bags. You have your tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, etc. So the biggest problem with bags is that people kind of found out during the closed beta that people really want bags. So during one of the closed betas, people were selling bags for about 15K a pop. And everyone took note of that and then made sure to level up their outfitting and got all the bags on the auction house right away, and they crashed to 1 to 2,000 per, and the resources to get them are crazy. You had to get PvP faction points, and then on top of that, get all the leather, and just a lot of work for not that much reward. If you do get some nice perks like luck on there, you might be able to get away with selling it for a couple thousand on the auction house for the first day, and then obviously sticking to whatever the levels are. If I had to give it a range, I would say day 1 to 2 is going to be 1 through 15 for levelings. Day 2 to like 8 are going to be that 15 to 40. And then after that, sky's the limit. Next tool sets, tier 5. I feel like most people that get there are going to probably pay someone to make that for them. And those tools, the tier 5 mining sets and tool sets and bag sets are going to be selling for a lot of gold, because hopefully those level 60s will have a lot of gold, but it's going to be pretty late. People are really going to hit level 60. The casuals anyway aren't going to hit level 60s for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks. The hardcore players are going to hit it in 3 to 4 days, but like I said, those people are going to have dedicated people already doing this mining, and they're not going to buy out the auction house from you. So the final thing, or the final item that I want to put on your guys' radar, is sand flux. So sand flux is an ingredient used for smelting. So when you're trying to smelt the higher grade bars like star metal, you need to use sand flux in order to turn the iron ore into the star metal ingot. So there is an item in the PvP faction shop that converts all of a specific material. If I can find it right here. So the common material converter. This will actually convert 15, let's say, weak solvents into 20 weak solvents into 15 sand flux. Now the secret about this is that sand flux is actually really hard to find in the chest, and it does sell for a lot on the trading post. In the last closed beta, I was selling sand flux for I think like 250 to 3 per sand flux, and the weak solvent I was buying on the market house for 0.18 per. So if you do some math here, right, it costs you, you know, 360 for 20 of these weak solvents, and then you get 15 of the sand flux back, and now you're selling that for 45. So with some quick math here, I mean, you're 12 timesing, 13 timesing your money with one conversion, which takes half a second. The only problem, or the only bottleneck with these common material converters, is that they require PvP tokens to buy. I think it's about 100 PvP tokens per at the lower levels, and then it obviously goes up from there. The common material converter can be purchased on the PvP faction shop. The lower levels, you're probably thinking take about 10 to 15 minutes to get about 1200. So you're only going to be getting about 12 of these per run, which if you don't die in a perfect world, it's going to be about 46 per hour. You do some simple math, you're 12 times your money, depending on how much money you invest in. I mean, let's see, 15 times 46. So I mean, you could turn it into 690 of these, and so you times that by 3, so you're making about 2,000 gold an hour at the lower levels. And obviously as you get to the higher levels, like the PvP quests that give 3,000, you're doubling that in the higher level and higher regions. But it's a good thing to mention on the side. I mean, 2,000 gold per hour is still pretty good. And it's very easy. You're getting XP for doing it. You're not just leveling a skill, so you're actually still competing with people leveling up during the process, which is nice. So the final items that I would like to mention, and that are going to be useful here on the later days of the beta, I would say probably, or sorry, the later days of the game, probably days like 3 to 5, are going to be gems and the modes to craft the gems. If you're not familiar with modes, there's like these like little rune looking things, and pretty much these modes help you craft gems to cut them so you can put them in their armor. I think these are going to sell very quickly. People were selling these for probably about 1 to 2 gold per, and they're super easy to get by mining and harvesting and just doing all of your trade skills. So keep that in mind. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope that I gave you some valuable information on starting out New World. I'm sorry I didn't have any like background videos or anything like that, but when the game does launch, I will be making sure to add that in and make sure that the videos have a little bit more texture. All right, thank you guys, and have a great day.